Wagner, welcome to Social Media Help Desk. This is the time every week when we get together to talk about social media, what's changed on the channels, what are our best tips and tricks for how we serve our clients here at the agency. And today I'm joined by two of our content editors. This is Brianna and Audrey.
Hi.
And we should mention that we're coming to you live from KWSM Atlanta. So sometimes you see me in our California office, but today this is the Atlanta office. We're having the southern version of Social Media Help Desk.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw. Howdy, y'all. There's a lot to talk about. First, WhatsApp. WhatsApp is an app owned by Facebook, and there's been first we saw Facebook by Instagram, and there have been some merging between Facebook and Instagram, and now it looks like they're kind of merging into WhatsApp too. We're merging WhatsApp into Facebook, and they've announced that they're going to allow messages that come in on WhatsApp to be available in the same place that Facebook Messenger and Instagram Messenger are. That's not coming until fall or winter of 2019, so pretty soon, maybe in the fall. But they're going to roll all the messaging functions into the same place, kind of like we already see with Facebook and Instagram. And then also they're exploring the functionality of being able to post on WhatsApp and then syndicate that post to Facebook and Instagram. We see that already. You could post on Instagram and share it to Facebook.
Right.
But they're wrapping WhatsApp into that. Maybe this is my ignorance. Is WhatsApp popular enough to make that a go?
So I would say outside of the United States, WhatsApp is probably the most popular social media app that's out there.
Overseas, yes.
Yes. So it actually existed before Facebook, maybe, and then Facebook got into it pretty quickly, just because it was the original way to send messages without having to pay for text messages or pay for calls.
Right.
When you're traveling, people use it for that. They can communicate back and forth to people at home.
Right, yeah. And so Facebook was smart to make an idea of what happens if we roll WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram messaging all into one place, which is really great for people like us. We manage, multiple clients' Facebook accounts. We can see all the messages instead of having to, go into each app and look at, the notifications. It's all going to be there in one place. And so I think this could be really good for, if you can post on Facebook, you can just duplicate it right over to WhatsApp and vice versa.
I think from a management standpoint, you're right, that it makes it easier. Everything's in one place and you can syndicate content, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it is an ease of use thing. But as a user, I don't like having my Instagram and my Facebook messages all in one place, because I have different friends on different channels and I like to keep those conversations a little bit separate. I don't know. Just me?
Yeah. I'm not sure. It is going to be interesting because I can literally be on WhatsApp and see that Brianna's on Instagram, and I can message her on Instagram. And it'll show up in her Instagram, but I'm messaging her from WhatsApp. So I'm not really sure. I don't really know what Facebook's motivation, like their end goal is in this. I mean, we know that they own all three, but
the motivation is to rule the world. That's typically what it is with Facebook.
Probably. Yes, cryptocurrency.
Yes.
Libra is coming.
The more they can control in the social media sphere, that's pretty much always the goal.
Right.
But I get that. It's like a dashboard where you can communicate in different places. So anyway, fall or winter of 2019, those things will roll out. So we'll stay tuned, see how they affect us and whether we like using it that way. The next piece of news today is from Twitter, and Twitter has rolled out a new policy where they say they're going to delete tweets from political figures that they determine are harmful or abusive.
Right.
So they don't say delete, actually. They say
They're
hide,
hiding,
right? So they're going to hide them from
They're
the
still
stream.
discoverable. You
But
have to
they're
go
not
looking
public.
for them.
Yes.
You have to go looking for them.
But they're not public. So they've said that political figures that say things that are harmful or abusive, they're going to show less of that in the feed and hide it for most users. Presumably not to be inflammatory, right? There's a statement I'll read you in a second, but tell me what you think of that.
I think it is going to be very helpful given our current political climate.
Less uprising, yes.
Yes, I think it's good. I mean, even someone that's in very high leadership in the United States of America, he's a little upset about this right now, but I think that...
Who happens to use Twitter a whole lot?
Happens to use Twitter a whole lot, but I think that I don't think that it is censorship in the way that we as journalists fear almost. I know that's one thing that we really value, is that everyone has an equal voice. Social media's kind of changed the game on that, and so I do think it would be wrong if they just deleted it, unless it is truly violating the guidelines that they have set up. but I think hiding it for now is a good step in the right direction.
I think
Okay,
it's
so
weird. I think
yeah,
it's
I'm going to
weird.
disagree.
I'm
You
going to
go
have to
first.
say that I think that's weird because I think that who's to say what's
Abusive.
abusive or offensive.
Mhm.
What may be abusive to me, it may not be abusive to you.
Right.
It may not be abusive to you. So I think that that's a weird. I'm interested to know what exactly does that entail? Like who like is there like a checklist of like does it check all these boxes? Then it's considered hideable or unhideable. I'm interested.
I think
to know.
it's specifically for
Who gets to
political
choose that?
figures.
It is, but that's my problem. There's a lot of people on Twitter who say abusive or offensive things.
Yeah.
And are we trying to keep the platform safe, so we're going to hide all of those? Or is this just about politics? Because for me, one of the things about America, but also Twitter, is that it's a freedom of speech platform. It's open, right? You can tweet about anything you want. And for political figures to be held to different standards than regular freedom of speech things, I think that wrong is a strong word, but I think I'm skeptical. I think it's not my favorite. I'm going to read you Twitter's statement, and if you guys have opinions, please comment. Let us know how you feel, because we're not sure about this. Twitter says, in the past, we've allowed certain tweets that violated our rules to remain on Twitter because they were in the public's interest, but it wasn't clear when and how we made those determinations. Serving public conversation includes providing the ability for anyone to talk about what matters to them. This can be especially important when engaging with government officials and political figures. By nature of their positions, these leaders have outsized influence and sometimes say things that could be considered controversial or invite debate and discussion. Okay, I agree with all that. Then they go on to say, a critical function of our service is providing a place where people can openly and publicly respond to their leaders and hold them accountable. So for me, that's a disconnect. They're saying it's a place where you should be able to say what you need to say, you can respond to leaders, but now they're saying we're going to make those leaders' tweets less findable.
And I think that
right?
whether it's offensive or not, I feel hiding it. I need to know exactly how you feel and what then like you said, I can hold you accountable if
right.
you say X,
or
Y,
decide
and Z.
whether to vote.
Right. If you say X, Y, Z and I don't agree with that, hiding that, I may never find it. So
That's true.
I
but
think
you can always go looking for it. There are going to be people out there who are like, I want to know what, President Trump has to say today. And they can go looking for it and they're going to see it plain and clear. But then there's people like me who I just want to scroll Instagram and see Twitter and see like dog videos and like funny SpongeBob memes, and I'm like, ugh, this guy again. So I don't know, it kind of separates it. And I think Twitter is making some changes. They're kind of making almost like playlists of what tweets you want to see. So you can put your close friends in one channel, and then maybe the political figures you want to follow in another, and I would guess that all that stuff would show up there.
So that's what I like about Twitter lists, right? So you could, if you wanted to follow politics, you could take all the political figures and put them in a list, and then yes, I'm assuming they won't hide it in the list because you're opting in to follow them.
Right.
So that is one way to sort of channel it out and get around that. But I also think all of the channels, Facebook included, are sort of responding to our political climate differently than they have in the past, right? We've gotten burned in some of the election activities. And I think they're really cautious of the upcoming election and how are they going to rein that stuff in. Because we live in a whole new world, right?
Right.
15, 20 years ago when we had elections, it didn't happen this way. People didn't have access to such a public platform. And so it's just maybe the changes in our world, the state of things, and that they're trying to adjust and figure out what is the right balance.
And a little bit of it is learning, because like you said, we didn't have these platforms years ago. So no one, I guess, maybe no one really knew the extent of what things could happen. So we're kind of like learning as we go, like, oh, this can happen. Oh, and this can happen too. Yeah. And they're kind of like trying to respond, in the
real time.
Best, the best that they can. So I applaud them for working hard for that, doing that.
Well, and they're going to mess up along the way, right?
Exactly.
They're not perfect. They're going to get it wrong, and then we've seen people or channels go too far and then dial it back a little bit. So maybe we're just in the midst of that. But for now, Twitter is at least publicly saying they're going to hide some comments that they think are harmful or abusive from political figures only at this point. So we'll stay tuned for that. And then our last bit of news for this week is from Instagram. And Instagram sound the trumpets. They have released a new sticker
Yay!
for your stories. I know this is big news around here. A new sticker for your stories. This is the chat sticker. You can add the chat sticker to your stories. And we're actually pretty excited about this one because I think it's going to be great for businesses and for marketers as a whole.
Right.
Chat could act like a call to action, right? To get your viewers or your fans engaged in whatever information you're putting out there.
Mm-hmm.
You thought of some ways that you could use it, Audrey, with your clients.
Yeah, so imagine, let's say I am a brand and I just got a brand new product. Let's say face care and it's this new moisturizer, and maybe I make an Instagram story about it and I'm just making a video. I can add this chat sticker on there that says, you know, do you want to learn more about this product, or what questions do you have about the chemicals in it or whatever. And if I click on that and Brianna sees this and she clicks on it and Katie sees it and she clicks on that chat sticker, we're all now in this group chat facilitated by the person who posted the Instagram story. And they kind of run as like the mediator in a conversation. So that could be really cool for dialing in some really hot leads. I'm not really sure. I mean, I haven't seen it even for myself for a business to use it. I've seen people using it, like some high school students I mentor, like, hey, what are you guys doing tonight? Chat button. And I'm like, no thanks. I will opt out of that conversation.
But you could engage should
I could
you choose
engage.
to. And I think, it's another level of engagement for businesses to use with their fans and followers. It's a way of, isn't social media always about drawing them in and getting that conversation going? And this is yet another way that Instagram's come up with to do that.
Right.
And it's on stories, and we know that stories are hot. We were just talking about that earlier today, that the stories are where you get a lot more engagement. So have at it. Like we said, if you come up with some interesting ways to use the chat button for your business, we're all ears. We'd love to be inspired by you guys. So send us a message. Let us know how you've been using it.
Right.
And speaking of Instagram, one of the biggest questions we get here at the agency is, how do I grow my Instagram following? I had a coaching call with an artist the other day, and she's been really trying to build up her following in advance of a big show she has. She has a gallery opening coming. And we were brainstorming ways that she could, she has a good following, it's about 8,000, but she really wants to break that 10,000 mark. And she was asking me for some ideas, and Brianna, I should have put her on the phone with you because you've been really thinking about ideas about growing Instagram followings lately. Let's run through some of the things that could be done there to if you're not happy with your current level, you just want to take it up a notch.
I think that when you're thinking about growing your Instagram, there are a couple of key things that you want to make sure that you're doing so that people can find you, B, very quickly see what your brand is about, and C, decide to follow you, because that's the end goal.
Yes.
So definitely you would like to, you want to have a branded handle, something that is, and this branded handle should be consistent across all of your social media platforms. But so if you are a hairstylist and you're, you go by Katie Awesome Hair, then
Which I would.
Katie Awesome Hair should be your handle, and then you can mimic that on other pages. I definitely think that your bio is another really important part of your Instagram. Not too lengthy, and just what your brand is about, what do you do, what's important to you, and then make sure that you definitely have a link to your website or your contact page, or maybe your blog or something like that, because you'd be very surprised how many people actually click the link in the bio before they actually even scroll down your page. So that's something that's really important. And then another thing that I think a lot of people aren't utilizing is Instagram stories and Instagram highlights. I'm actually more of a fan of the highlights themselves because they're permanent on your page until, of course, you decide to delete them. As where stories delete after 24 hours, very similar to that Snapchat kind of content model. And highlights really can give people a really good snapshot of your actual personality. Not saying that your Instagram grid doesn't show your personality, but sometimes that's more cutesy, more pretty, more aesthetically appealing, kind of bloggy sometimes. But your Instagram story really shows, I feel like, a more raw version of you, and I think that's what people are looking for when they're trying to follow you on Instagram.
We always talk about that being the more authentic content, right? It's behind the scenes, it's real time, whereas your flow, where you post the pictures that stay, is a little more curated. Right?
Yeah.
You pick and choose what's going to stay up there for a while, whereas stories kind of more in the moment.
Right.
And you need stories to make highlights.
Right.
Talk a little bit about how to do that, because you were helping me with that the other day.
So if you're going to want to highlight something on your page, you're going to want to either go to your Instagram archive and use one of the expired posts that expired from your Instagram story, because all of those are saved. Or you're going to want to save it directly from the story that's live right now, which are only good for 24 hours.
Yes.
And then when you're creating Instagram stories, utilize those stickers and things like that that will create engagement with your followers. So the polls, there's music options, there's quotes, there's interactive stickers, GIFs, all of that stuff. All of those things are going to make your story, they're going to showcase your brand a little bit better, showcase your brand's personality, and it's also going to people are going to want to tell you their opinion, because we all know that people love giving their opinion. So do you guys like a black shirt or a white shirt? Vote below. I think that that's really important as well. And then the last really important thing, two last important things. One is hashtags, which you can check out our blog. We have many blogs on why you need hashtags. And two, you want to have a cohesive brand feel. I think that that's another really small thing that a lot of brands don't do, is that they don't have a cohesive brand feel throughout their whole Instagram or social media platforms in general. So those are my tips.
That's one of my hot button things, is the flow should look, all your pictures together when you scroll down should look cohesive. It should have a branded feel, and it should tell a story in and of itself. Like, I shouldn't have to open every little picture to see what it's about. It should have a color scheme and a look and feel. If you follow big brands online, some of the best ones are really good at that everything feels like it goes with that account.
Right.
So
Audrey's really good at that Instagram
aesthetic is a thing.
yes, it's a thing. It's an important thing.
Yes. Get the Vesco cam, pick a filter, and never change for the rest of your life.
The what cam?
Vesco, the visual supply
VSCO?
company. Yes. Visual supply company. And also, I thought of two things when you were talking, only I write it in the news blog, and so I'm always like, I have my nose in what Instagram's changing. One thing they did last week was they changed your bios to only allow like 3 or 4 lines. So you'll see like 2 things and it will say more. So just be mindful of that. Now I've been cutting out stuff in my bio to make it shorter. And then another thing for Instagram highlights, you can just directly upload a highlight cover. I don't know how many times I've been on Instagram and people are like, please stand by for the next 5 Instagram stories. And it's like beach pics, food. You don't have to do that anymore. There's a direct upload button. We'd be happy to show you how to do that. So just reach out to us.
So you're saying you can make like little covers for them, so it says, here's my tips and here's case studies and whatever.
Right. Yes, but you don't have. You used to have to upload them, like Brianna was saying, to your Instagram story, so that it went to your archive, so you could then pull it as a highlight cover.
Right.
No more.
But Instagram realized people were doing that, so they gave us the functionality.
Yes. Yeah. I think that they knew people were being.
Yes, I have
crazy.
a couple people I follow.
So if you want to learn how to do that or anything else that we've talked about, you can always email us at tips@kwsmdigital.com or make a comment on this video on Facebook, and we'll certainly help you. One of our experts will get back in touch and show you how to do it. I think those are all good tips. I think unfortunately people think of Instagram sometimes as like a little microcosm of a picture, and they don't think about what it's saying about the brand, whether it's your flow or the bio or the the handle they're choosing.
It's everything.
It is everything. And I think next week we're going to talk about some other tips about using hashtags better, writing captions, so that we can talk about how that gets you followers. But the first thing is really shore up that account and make sure it's representing you in the way you want it to. Right? And looking as it should up there.
Right.
Because your brand is visual. That aesthetic thing does matter.
It does.
Audrey's right. On all social media, but especially Instagram, because it's so visual. So I think one of the things, it's summertime now, and I think one of the things people really struggle with in the summer is social media slows down a little bit. And maybe some people take vacations or you're away from it for a while. And those of us that are marketers that have to be on social media year round, we're always thinking about how do we keep things engaging, how do we create content that continues to draw people in, and that really involves them when they're not spending as much time on social media as perhaps they would have been normally. And Audrey, you and I were talking earlier about where do we find inspiration? Right? Like where do you, when you don't know what to post, you can't think of any new ideas, like what keeps you going there and feeds those juices.
Yeah, so creativity isn't something that humans just have on tap all the time. It's something that has to be recharged. It's more like a battery than like a fountain that's always flowing. And so
We wish it was a fountain, don't we?
yeah, gosh, we do, especially when you have deadlines and you work in
Right.
our industry. But yeah, so one thing that we just wanted to go over before we wrapped up today was what are some ways that we can advise you guys to stay creative and stay inspired. And it's so funny because when I brought this up to Katie, the first thing she said was, well, I think about it, when I'm in the shower or something. And that's actually like the first tip that I would give you is to focus on incorporating more downtime. Things like, I don't know about you guys, but like mowing the grass, when you're cooking, when you are walking through a museum, some of those like
Hiking.
hiking,
Walking the dogs. Yeah.
nature, all those places are great places to go, and you might not be sitting down researching what the hottest trend is. That does not mean that you're not recharging your creativity in a different way. So consider your surrounding because that really affects you. The next thing is just a tip. I know for me it's easy to get on Instagram first thing in the morning and see another brand that's like killing it, that's like, I'm like, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? And I get down on myself. So one way to kind of overcome that is if I'm going to get on Instagram first thing in the morning, I'm going to find one person who's doing something really good and send them a message, even if it's a huge brand, and they're never going to, follow me or engage with me. I'm still going to say it in just that exchange of like, okay, we're on the same level, playing field, like whatever. It just kind of sends like a positive affirmation to yourself and to someone else that, we're all in this together and we're all trying to tell stories. So yeah, the next thing, and we talked about this because Katie flies all the time. Turn your phone on airplane mode. That's one of my favorite features. I know for iPhone we have Do Not Disturb, and I do that all the time when I just need to get some content done. I just turn on Do Not Disturb and do what I can. I let my boss know, like, hey, call 2 times in a row if you really need me, because that's the only way that you're getting through. But yeah, don't be afraid to take an hour once a week, once every 2 weeks, and kind of like, vision cast for yourself. Maybe that's the time that you use to go do those downtime activities.
I actually do get some of my best ideas on planes because I can't be on my phone.
Right.
My phone doesn't work on the plane. And so I sit there and I have to, I'll talk about this in a second, but one of my favorite places for inspiration is magazines. So I have to read a magazine or I have to just be with my thoughts, and that really helps me think outside the box.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So a few more. These are quick ones. One thing that's recommended anytime you're like in a creativity rut is to color, or to think about what you did when you were a kid to have fun. So that's something even like my therapist told me, like, that's a great way to recharge. So for me, like, I like to go swinging. I was like, well, it's kind of hard to, I don't want to be a 27-year-old woman at a school swinging by myself here in Atlanta. So I was like, hammocking. Okay, so whatever it was, maybe it was playing with Tinker Toys, and you can do something like that. Coloring is a really, really great one and a really common one that a lot of us experience since we went to schools.
Well, they have those adult coloring books now. We give those to our team members sometimes for gifts.
Yeah.
Because it releases your brain in a different way.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing, kind of like podcasts, is kind of like magazines, is podcasts. I just ruined the big spoiler moment.
Right?
Podcasts. So we actually pulled up a few, and if you want to learn more, we have more on our blog. And if you guys want to just mention a podcast that you think is helpful for kind of sharpening your creativity skill, I know one that I really like is The Science of Social Media. It's from Buffer, which is an official partner to Instagram and Facebook. So I love Buffer. They do all kinds of really great statistics about what's good for brands, and they're really targeted towards branded content, which I think is really great. So I listen to that one. I think it comes out once a week on Mondays. And it's really lighthearted and it's quick to listen to. So that's one I like. And then Goal Digger by Jenna Kutcher, which she is like an email marketing Instagram maven. Like, she is just completely brilliant. So those would be my 2. Do you guys have any?
I think I'd have to go with, this one isn't necessarily about marketing, it's more about being an entrepreneur, but just hearing how other people do what they do and how they grow to be these big brands is really important to me. So I like How I Built This with Guy Raz. He's like totally amazing, and he does like when people tell you their story from small business to big business, you can see it and you can hear how I love it.
Right.
So I listen to a lot of like news storytelling podcasts, and it's not so much the stories or the information, but it's how they're crafting those stories. And I get a lot of inspiration about how other people are telling their stories and how they're putting together the information and keeping me engaged. And I notice what I respond to, and that gives me ideas for like, oh, I should do that for this, or I should, steal that idea.
Yeah.
And then I'll just say about magazines, I've always believed, since I've done this for a living, the last decade or so, that magazines are the closest form of content to social media, because aesthetics matter, because the information's in bite-sized chunks, and because the way it's laid out is visually appealing but leads you through the information.
Right.
And so when I need social media content, help or inspiration, I'll pick up my favorite Real Simple or, I don't know, health magazine or Eating Well or whatever it is, and look at the types of information they have laid out and get a lot of good graphic ideas or tips or polls or,
Yeah.
the way they share information is very similar to the way you do it on the social media tools.
Right.
So I think that's really helpful.
Yeah. So those are just a few tips that we want to share. While it's summer, you might have some downtime. Take advantage of that and write those ideas down. Do not type them up. Write them down. You will find yourself being able to engage, with the words or your copy more, and maybe, you doodle a little bit of what you discovered while you were in the shower or out in nature, wherever it is that you stay positive.
All right, you guys, thanks for joining us. We're going to be back here next Tuesday at 12:30 Pacific Time, 3:30 Eastern Time. Until then, a couple of things to tell you about. If you want to learn a lot more about social media and you're in the Atlanta area, we're having our social media boot camp. Comes up on July 26th. We're teaching a Facebook class. And on August 2nd, we're teaching a LinkedIn class. There's information on our website, which is kwsmdigital.com. Sign up for those classes. You can come meet us and learn about those channels. Also, there's a lot of information on our blog, also KWSM Digital. You can sort by channel to learn a lot there. And then go to our YouTube channel, which is KWSM Team. We have past episodes of this show and some social media tips of the day there. So we hope you'll take advantage of those resources, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. Thanks, everybody.